Welcome, everyone. We are very excited today to have you with us. This is our 58th Salon, The Gift of Shared Purpose for Uniting People and Movements, featuring Miki, Kashtan, Vanda, Perez, Bessone, Emma, Quayle, and Menaka, Neotia.
Menaka.
Menaka.
Neotia.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. Our salons are hosted by the International Feminists for the Gift Economy. I'm Letecia, Layson, your moderator, and today, with my great pleasure, I am going to step aside and let this wonderful group actually manage this salon for you. They have something really dynamic and exciting for us today. I'm going to start, for those of you who don't know Genevieve Vaughan. Genevieve is the founder, as we see her, of and the foremother of the maternal gift economy movement. She's an independent researcher who lives part-time in Italy and part-time in Texas. Today, she's actually calling in from Salt Lake City. Many of our guests and friends travel to lots of different places. She created a multicultural, all-woman activist foundation for a compassionate society that ran from 1987 to 2005. And she founded the Temple of Sekhmet in the Nevada desert in 1992, which continues on. She's written many books, and we are very happy that she continues to support us and support this network by honoring her, our time with her presence and her wisdom. Miki Kashtan is the seed founder. Emma Quayle is a founding member. And say your name again, McKenna. Menaka?
No. Menaka.
Menaka. Right. And Vanda, Perez, Bessone are all also part of the nonviolent global liberation community. You can read their full bios at the website. NGL's most radical experiment is about prototyping a global maternal gift economy. Everything that happens within NGL is based on gifts freely given of thought, love, conversation, intimacy, tasks, teaching, and money. The NGL framework includes design and implementation processes that arise from engaging with all the above questions. So welcome all of you. And I'm going to turn the mic over to Jen.
Yes, welcome everybody. I'm so happy that you are here, and I'm so happy that Miki is here, particularly because I have not met many people who came up with the idea of the gift economy themselves. And so when I met Miki, I was really very happy because I've been working on it for a long time, and she had been working on it for a long time, and it was really a very heartening to find out that there were other people doing this. There are some men doing it, like Charles Eisenstein, for example. But I think the women's perspective and the maternal perspective is the really basic thing that is missing from the many other attempts at doing gift economy. And I just really appreciate very much the way that Miki has tried to create a actual gift economy in the now. I haven't tried to do that much. I think that we have many different perspectives on the gift economy. It's a huge shift. And so all the different ways of trying to do it and trying to bring it into reality in some way or other are important. And so I really appreciate what she has done and her group have done. And I think my way is a little different, but I'm very happy that they're doing what they're doing. So welcome, Miki, and all of you, and take it from there, Miki.
Thank you. So we created this event as an experiment. Everything that we do within NGL is experiments. And the experiment was our way of responding to the idea of uniting the movements, which was the theme of the conference a couple of months ago. And what we are planning to do today is an exercise in what that could look like. What could it look like to unite people and movements? And this is going to be a live experiment. This is not a presentation. It is not a lecture. It's a live experiment that everyone here is invited to participate in. And as a result, I am really going to ask people as much as possible to open your camera, because we are all part of it. And of course, if you choose not to open your camera, that is also part of the experiment, because whenever you try to bring people together, there are those who participate in this way and those who participate in that way, and we need to adapt and figure it out. And still, the request is, if there is no specific reason leading you to turn off your camera, please turn it on and think of yourself as co-shaping what is going to happen in the next couple of hours. That is the invitation and the request. And the experiment is starting with Emma, and then it will go from there. Is this enough, Emma?
Yes, I think so. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to start by jumping into the experiment, and then we will kind of explain it to you as we go, rather than explaining it and then doing it. So we will have an experience of it as we go. The first piece that I want to speak to in the direction of pulling us and pulling people together in general is vision. And if you think of seeds, which I know is a topic of this, seeds are a carrier of vision of the future. Like if you imagine an oak seed, an acorn, for instance, like all of the information of that tree and what it will become is in there. That seed is like packed with the power of life. And what's also contained in that seed is not only the tree, but everything that comes from that tree. So like what that tree will feed, what it will shelter, the multitude of other beings that will live and be interwoven with that tree. It's like it's all contained in that seed. So that this vision seed, if you like, is it's all there, and it's like the entire interwovenness of life is contained in this tiny thing. So what we are experimenting with within the nonviolent global liberation community is the idea that humans also contain a seed, and that we biologically come into this world actually prepared for a certain way of being and existing in the world. So we come in not expecting, but like biologically prepared for community, for example. Many of the things that we often say that we want if we talk to different people, you have a sense that people want similar things. Like if we were to, you know, have the world as we want it to be, it's actually quite similar. So this place within each of us that longs for this something is what we're referring to as the seed that lives within humans. And it's cellular. So these seeds, just like the seeds of plants, they need to be tended to and to have optimum conditions so that they can flourish. And it's the same with us as human seeds. If we're not in optimum conditions, then we simply don't flourish. And this is how we understand what is happening in our world as it is. The conditions of all of the patriarchal systems that we live within do not create ways of being in the world that actually support our humanness to flourish. And the conditions that are needed have almost been completely destroyed for us to be able to access that full humanness. And what Jen speaks of the maternal gift economy, for me, that's completely within that seed. Like maternal gifting, that way of orienting to each other and to life, is within that seed. So talking about vision is an incredibly subversive thing, because it's talking about system change, both internally, like how we orient to ourselves and what we see as possible within our lives, and also how we orient to life in general. Because if we truly believe that those little intuitions and insights about how life could be are actually real, like that's really what we're all biologically prepared for, that means something quite intense about what we need to do to change the systems that we live within. Yeah, so this is, take a moment. But there's something also in how we care for seeds in terms of, you know, actual seeds as we know them. If we actually wanted to create optimum conditions to care for the seeds of life, whether that be an oak tree or a mouse or a whale, or, you know, wherever these seeds of life exist, I want us to actually do that from a place of integrity and from connection with our own seeds within us, because I truly believe that when we are deeply connected with that and we actually create systems, ways of living in the world that are resonant with those seeds, that of life, of how we believe it could be, then we're more likely to have access to more accurate wisdom to know how to care for life overall. Love to see just some show of hands or movement if there's like resonance in somewhere within you hearing this. Seeing lots of movement. Okay, great. Beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, so to get us started with this group, we've created a first draft vision for uniting movements. And we want to share that with you now. I'm going to share my screen, and I'd really love someone else other than me and not from our group to read it, because our experience is that when we read vision, and in any way that we participate in creating of new ways of being, we actually weave ourselves into it. So the more we bring ourselves in, the more we support the creation of it, and the more we know ourselves within it. So I'm wondering if anyone is willing to do that.
And I would like to I would like to extend it even beyond NGL. There are
Yeah.
a number of people here who are from NGL and are already familiar with what we're doing. And I think it would be more potent for one or more people to read
Yeah.
it who aren't part of NGL.
Yes. I was also thinking that and didn't verbalize it. Thank you. Marie Claire.
Yeah,
Hello.
I'm happy to.
Okay. I'll share my screen. Okay. Is it big enough for you? Oh, you're muted.
Ah, that's better.
Yeah.
All right. You want me
You want
just
it
to
bigger?
read it through with just pause in between paragraphs, or do we want to switch off with anyone else, or how would you like me to proceed?
Would anyone else like to read? I can't see everyone now if you're putting up your hand.
Someone can jump in when I pause if they feel so moved.
Okay.
How's that?
We have Cindy. Cindy will read.
Cindy is from NGL.
Wow. More from, yeah.
Well, I love experiments and I love participatory action. And so in lieu of somebody else jumping in ahead of time, I propose that I read with a pause between paragraphs. And if someone feels so moved to read a paragraph when I pause, then that would create a bit of an improvisational moment. Is that okay?
Great.
Okay.
And as you're reading, Marie Claire, if you can try and like embody it as much as possible, then it expresses the energy of it more clearly, and I think we can feel it more together.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, vision. Humanity is functioning as one interconnected whole. We meet our material and non-material needs as members of a global interspecies web through maternal gifting in regenerative communities and in reverence for life. We share resources locally and move them across regions from where they exist to where they are needed, based on willingness and capacity with the least unwanted impacts. We encounter finitude collaboratively across all ages, and none of us stretches to give beyond our willingness. We have relearned to take only what we need, not more and not less, and we experience enoughness and peace within the web of life on Earth. All of us who want to, everywhere, participate in shaping the way things unfold in our regions and beyond. We live in an ongoing local and global web of learning and attunement.
We mobilize our collective human ingenuity, integrating new discoveries with ancient wisdom to attend to human needs within planetary limits, and we care for the seed of life with reverence. We have found ways to have enough food, water, and shelter for all of us. When known needs exceed capacity, we attend to each such situation in its uniqueness, knowing that it involves specific human beings who are in distress because of there not being enough and something to attend to their needs. As we discover and expose the actual needs and make them clear and known, creative solutions emerge.
Thank you very much. Emma, can you stop your share? Thank you, everyone. I just want to take a moment for letting everyone feel it, let it percolate within you. It's a picture of a world in which we have optimal conditions for life to thrive. And this is our starting point for this experiment that we're doing, because it's a draft. We're not necessarily going to be able to do a whole lot of things today. It's just an experiment, and still, at some point, yeah. Oh, at some point, we're going to ask you for input and participation very soon. At first, it feels like it's now time to tell you a little bit about who we are. And we decided to do it such that each of us introduces someone else of us. So Vanda is going to start by introducing me.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, I hope this experiment is going to work also for me. I've never spoken in this kind of spaces before. And I had a clear sense that I didn't want to introduce Miki by telling the long list of achievements or what she has done, or yeah, I've written it down in case my heart and my mind completely go different ways in a moment. Yeah, I also don't want to introduce Miki by telling all the articles or listing the articles and the books, or by describing from very close how intense the experiments are that she's engaging with, and that, yeah, give rise to the kind of things we are doing here. What I wanted was to describe or to introduce her by telling what happened to me when I met her. And the reason is because I have this hope that it will happen to many others here. And yeah, when I first came across a book of hers and then met her online in a course about vision mobilization, what we are going to do now, and later in person, there was this kind of super urgent in my stomach going up to my throat, this yes, let's do it now. It can be done. We have what we need. Because there is this one person that for some way is able to bring this message of how to actually move one step at a time with very little resources we have available, from where we are now to the place that we actually want to be. And after reading what I read and being involved, I realized I don't need anything else. Now there is all that we need to start doing it, and to start doing it collectively. It's out there. It's in the packets, it's in the videos, it's everywhere. So yeah, let's do it. There was this yes to doing it. And I think that's what is different between Miki and other intellectuals, is that suddenly I didn't find any gap anymore between what people say and what can be done. It's as if she brought like a missing link. And that makes it threatening or scary sometimes to actually do it. And I think that's the beauty of the life flowing through Miki. It's all there, what we need, or what I needed at least, is there. Let's do it. And it's about nonviolence, about integrating nonviolence in everything we do and aligning means with ends. So the way of uniting movements, I think we want to do that in a way that's aligned with the vision that was described before. And I don't know anyone else that could support us in doing that.
Wow, these are big shoes that you gave me to get into.
We work together.
Yes. I'm going to introduce Menaka and also say what this odd PNP is in front of her name. Menaka lives in India, is from India. And like most people who have come to join the work, came with a kind of tenacity of, I'm not going to let the fact that I am in the global south, the fact that my people have been colonized, the fact that I have been undermined as a woman in an overtly patriarchal society, the fact that I have been traumatized by violence directly against me. I'm not going to let any of that stop me from being an active, full, vibrant participant in creating a new way of being. And over the course of several years that I've known Menaka, I can't count anymore because time has warped. Every day she picks herself up, checks, where are my patterns? Where are my strengths? What am I able to do today? Where am I going to untwist the patriarchal field today? With whom? How far can I pull myself? How far can I pull others? And here I am. Here I am. So that's Menaka to me. And the PNP stands for power and privilege. And one of the things that we do within the nonviolent global liberation community is that we give a huge amount of attention to questions of power and privilege from the perspective of liberation for all, not in a way that divides people, like they're good guys or bad guys, and you have hurt me and now you have to pay for it. No, in a way that we all want to learn how to move to the other side of those divisions. And one of the things that Menaka does in many spaces is what we call power and privilege tracking. Anytime that there is an opportunity to see, oops, somebody did something or said something that is likely to be impactful for some people, or that is creating conditions within the field that might be more difficult for some people, she names it with an amount of love that astonishes me. Usually she does it only with those of us who present something. And today, as part of the experiment, if there's anyone who is willing to be tracked alongside us, then you just edit your name on the screen and add a P to it before your name. And then if you participate and if Menaka sees something, she will step forward and speak about it. Because without speaking about these things, it's all too likely that we will reproduce the patterns that exist in society. That's it. Your turn.
Thank you, Miki. Miki spoke words about me that I could so relate to. And it seemed like as if those words are coming from me about me. And I'm so happy to be introducing Emma, because I have this, like, I'm not being able to say this without feeling overwhelmed with tears, because I have this like deep connection with Emma. And I wrote a few words to, because I wanted to fully bring what Emma brings. And I'm not that great with words, so I'll read them. I know Emma's from the UK, and now she's living in Spain with Miki and one more person, Eddie. And Emma carries, one of the person who is carrying the seed of NGL's first physical community. Her purpose is to map and make accessible context-specific pathways for existing patriarchal functioning and realigning with vision. One primary focus within this has been creating the Vision Mobilization VM framework with Miki and one other person. And Emma and I with each other have been experiencing remothering. And so what we have been experiencing, we've been trying to also explore, like, what does it look like? What are each of us doing? And what is making this possible, so that we can share this more widely? And that's like the deep connection I have in that space with Emma. Over to Emma.
Thank you. Sweet. I'm going to introduce Vanda. I didn't write anything down, prepare anything, but Vanda is living in Germany, and she's originally from, can't remember, somewhere in Latin America, Argentina. No? Yeah, okay, I remembered. Vanda is a crazy creative person, and I actually had an image earlier of Vanda being like the blade of grass that somehow grows through the concrete. And it's like just the amount of kind of concentrated life and creativity, and the yeah, like the I don't know, like the boldness and the strength to continue bringing that again and again and again, even when her life circumstances are very challenging in a variety of ways. It's just something that I continually find deeply inspiring. And Vanda's like her own source point in a way, and I just have a lot of appreciation for you in the world and being with us and a part of what we're doing. Yeah. That's it. What's next? Miki, I'm not looking at the sheet.
Okay. So that's us. You already see that we're doing things not in a common way. We're not following normal patterns of being professionals. We actually believe that the idea of professionalism undermines the possibility of creating a world that works for all. But that's a sideline. Just you saw. And what we're doing here is both real and imaginary. The real is that each one of us is who we are, with our strengths and our limitations, our circumstances, our sphere of influence, lack thereof. We are each who we are. And it's imaginary in that none of us signed up to actually unite ourselves into a movement together. You didn't come here for that. So that's why it's an imaginary experiment in which the premise is that we all decided to work together, to see how far we can go, how much further, whether we can go further if we unite all our forces together. And what we're going to do is like a dip in exploring what we could do if we indeed wanted to do that. So you don't need to do anything special other than be yourself and be real, except to imagine that you actually agreed to participate in this experiment. And if you don't want to, that's fine, because there will always be people who will say they want to and then they don't, or whatever. So you just be yourself throughout this experiment. I'm curious if anyone has any confusion or any questions about what we are talking about in terms of this experiment. It may be simple and clear, and it may be that somebody has a question. If so, please ask it. All right. So now I want to introduce what we call the vision mobilization work. I just need to make it small enough that it will fit on the screen. Okay, I'm now going to share my screen. And this is showing you an image of the vision mobilization.
Miki,
Yeah.
I wanted to bring a PNP piece. Would you like me to do it now? I wanted to appreciate what I saw you doing twice, inviting us to check if we would like to participate in the experiment. And even if we don't want to check that too. So usually, like, to me, that's like you're sharing the power. It's not like you are holding the session, so you're going to decide what people are going to do. It's like we already have choice. You're making us aware of that. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So this diagram emerged from conversations over about a year between Emma, myself, and several other people who are not here. And eventually Emma put it all together. And it was only after she put it all together on paper that we saw that it had the shape of the goddess. It wasn't like we thought, oh, how do we create something that looks like the goddess? It's that the goddess emerged in the picture. And I'm going to be very brief about it because this isn't a training, just enough so you know what we're doing. You noticed we started with vision. Vision is something that Emma explained a lot about. The work that any of us do when we orient to vision mobilization is we go from the vision to look at the present reality. What is the actual reality within which we live? And there's a gap between the vision and the present reality. And that gap at present is beyond anyone's individual capacity to bridge. And clearly, it's beyond our collective capacity to bridge, or we would have done it. In fact, it appears that collectively, the gap between our present reality and the vision is growing, and we are moving in the direction of societal collapse and extinction. So what can any of us do when we face this enormous gap that we cannot fully bridge ever? What we can do is first mourn it so that we don't respond to it with violence against the world or violence against ourselves. Then we do a capacity assessment to see what are the resources that we have to bring into this situation. And based on the capacity assessment, we take steps to bridge the gap within what is our capacity. That is the simplest version of the vision mobilization framework. And we then take it and anchor it in systems and action agreements that will support us in staying the course. Because if we just have an intention and we don't anchor it on the material plane, the patriarchal field is way too strong and it will pull us right back. So this is the piece. We will be happy to share with everyone who registered the image later. And I want to know if anyone has any clarity question, not what if and where does it go or whatever, but just clarity question. Are there any clarity questions before we proceed with what comes next? Emma, I see that I actually collapsed 2 bits in one, and I'm wondering if there's any more about the diagram that you want to say, because I got confused and I explained it with showing it. Is there?
The only thing that came to me to share is that I really love an image that I came up with of vision as being like a kite, like a really big kite, because when we connect with vision, there's energy that moves through, like life energy has a force to it. And with any big kite, if you don't anchor it with strings and like attach it to the ground or to you in some way, then it will just blow away and you kind of see it go off into the distance. So that's why it's really important to what we call anchor the vision in concrete, really concrete ways, so that we can move with it and towards it. Yeah, just wanted to share that metaphor.
Great. So now we're going to put the vision back on the screen, the one that we read at the beginning, and do a little bit of exercise to see, do you actually find yourself in that vision? Or is there anything that needs to be changed for you to say, yeah, I want that. Is there anything missing, anything that needs to be changed? And I'm going to find it. There it is. And share the screen again and invite you to look at it and see. I'm going to make it a little bigger so that the older eyes can also look at it.
Miki?
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a little sentence, a little thing I want to bring now in
Mhm.
connection to the title of this session.
Yeah.
Because I think we decided to go with the gift of purpose, the gift of shared purpose for uniting movements. And we had also the idea of adding vision. I think it came from Menaka, of the gift of shared vision and purpose for uniting the movement. So I just want to bring in this little note about why we are going into this right
Thank
now.
you.
Because,
Thank
yeah,
you.
okay.
So please read it and actually imagine yourself in those conditions. Imagine all of us in those conditions. Does it appeal? Is there a wrinkle? Is something like, I'm not sure about this. Is there anyone who needs more time to read it before we come back to dialogue? Just say it. Unmute and say it if you need more time.
I could use another minute. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Right.
I'd like to make a comment.
Yeah.
The last sentence, as we discover and expose the actual needs and make them clear and known, creative solutions emerge. I think that's really of pivotal importance. And there's truth, a fundamental truth to that, that can't be forgotten, particularly in times like these where there's so much suffering on so many fronts. That does happen. And to be on the lookout for it, that's our communal task. Thanks.
Thank you. There is actually ample evidence. It doesn't always happen, but there's ample evidence that humans know how to do this even after thousands of years of patriarchy. In conditions of distress, people know to come together and find creative solutions. I'll share just one example of this, which happened on, not many people know it, on September 11th, 2001. There were a bunch of people, like, I don't remember the number, but something like 100,000 or more people who came to the tip of Manhattan Island wanting to leave. And a call went out to all the boats in the region, because boats communicate with each other. And these were military boats, personal boats, cruise boats, any boats. All the boats that were out there sailing went to the tip of Manhattan Island and transferred people to Staten Island. And guess what? There was no one controlling it, no one supervising it. And they transferred more people in less time than the biggest well-known evacuation, which was Dunkirk in World War II. That's an example, like a very extreme example of what humans can do when we come together in response to needs. Thank you, Joe. Wondering if there's anything that is missing for anyone, or that you would say differently. All right, I'll take that as good enough for the moment. Obviously, if we were actually going to work together tomorrow, you would probably apply a different threshold of engagement, and there would probably be some tinkering. I was hoping there would be some, but we can do the same with what comes next. Emma,
Yep.
it's your turn to talk about the gap.
Yeah. So you know my battery is going on my laptop and I have no way of charging it here. So I'm preparing to go on my phone. I just hope it doesn't happen in the middle of this piece. If it does, then I'll hand it over to you. So in order to know where we actually are, like where we're coming from, what we have available to us to do this work of bridging the gap, some of the things that we look at are, for instance, what are some of the kind of bigger external ways in which we are far from vision? So this can be like the systems that we live within, or what else? You have examples?
Yeah, the fact that there isn't a way for all humans to communicate with all humans. It's not just the systems, it's also the fact that we speak multiple languages, and our capacity to interconnect on the level of social relationship is far behind our capacity to interconnect on the level of resource extraction. So resource extraction is happening globally, but we are not able to connect well enough to subvert it.
Yeah.
That's an example.
And another place where we want to look is, what is it internally that's actually blocking us from inhabiting, moving towards this vision? So for instance, we may know that if we can hold our challenges together, then there's a lot more wisdom available and a lot more people to actually work things out and do things together. And yet there are internalizations of ways of being separate and having an individual life, valuing working things out by myself, not wanting to appear weak, whatever it is, that how it shows up. These are things that actually block us from being able to function together. And there are many, many other examples, but that's just a very small selection. And I'm going to pass to you, Miki, because I need to shift so I can go on my
Okay.
phone. And I'll come back in a moment.
Yeah, thank you. So this is just, yes, Kathy. You're muted.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Okay, so here I am. So I'm new to all of you. My sister-in-law is Judith Woke, who's been involved with much of this work, and she couldn't be on this Zoom today. But we met a few weeks ago and she spoke about the movement, and I was fascinated by it. So I'll just give you my own feelings and reactions now, as I live in New York City in the United States, and I live in a country that is, to say it's in turmoil is far too soft. We are heading off the cliff so quickly. And when you say internally what feelings we have, I live with this angst all the time that the annihilation of the world, a nuclear war, the election of, I won't even mention his name, but he has orange hair, that we are in tremendous danger. And the desire for an idealistic way to, I guess the term is, push back against this, I had a mother who was really marvelous, an ordinary housewife who became a wonderful political activist in the 60s against the Vietnam War. And she taught me the power of mothering that women have, right? We would hold bake sales, we would not have wars. I am just lost here in the struggle of how the idealism can actually take us in a direction that can push back against where we are now in the world today.
So you're jumping a tiny bit ahead, but I will say it like this. This is when we get to the question of purpose, which is a little bit down the line, and I will say it now, which is, it is essential for us to take on a purpose that is fully within capacity. It is not within your capacity to change the outcome of the elections. That is just not. You don't have that sphere of influence. What is yours to do, I don't know, because I don't know you. But it comes from assessing what are the strengths that you have? What are the limitations that you have? Where do you have openings? What is your sphere of influence? And what are steps you can do that point in the direction of the vision? You won't reach it, but you can point to it and take baby steps. And then we don't know what will happen. That's the response. Thank you. Vanda, I think it's your, are you there, Vanda?
I am here and I'm having connection trouble.
Okay.
So I'm shifting to, can you actually hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'll try. Is it now about morning?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. As Emma, I'm going to entrust you with the catching, with following what I start if I disappear. Yeah, so I think the is a crucial element and a very unique aspect of this framework and of what we are trying to bring. Because when things don't work, when we put all the efforts and we try to do our best, we have, there might still not be enough.
Vanda, it cuts you out.
You go ahead.
That's very sad.
Turn off your video, Vanda.
Yeah, turn off the video and I think it might be fine.
Okay. I give it a try.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was trying to speak to the significance of mourning as another unique aspect of the framework and process we are trying to bring for uniting movements. Because as you were just saying, there are many, many, many things that are far beyond our scope and that we will try to change and not manage to change. Or in Miki's book, there is one example about a community not having enough of some antibiotics or something to attend to the people that actually would need to receive it. And how a whole community gathers in one place and tries to come up with a creative solution for distributing what's available. And still that won't always be enough. And then what is transformative to do and what is aligned with our vision and what will still allow us to keep moving in spite of the pain is the mourning together, rather than separating and fighting for a resource or complaining or trying to bring now about the mourning within the conditions I'm in is this bit and invite to bring some other thing if you think it's necessary.
Okay, I will just add that mourning is one of a group of qualities that I call the soft qualities, which I think of as the deepest layer of antidoting patriarchy, the soft qualities, because it is not possible to force them, to control them, to make them. They can only emerge from the humanity that we have. And mourning is one of them. Mourning is filling the gap between current reality and vision with tears instead of violence. And so I want to take now about 30 seconds for each of us to actually feel our way into really taking in how shitty our situation is as a species, how low capacity we are, how close to the brink of being gone we are. And hold that in relation to the vision that we just all shared and looked at, that speaks to us enough that we didn't even need to do something to change the words. It speaks to us enough for now. That gap, let's just be in silence for a few seconds to actually feel it. Feel that grief, that horror, that desolation. Feel it. Don't resist it. Don't fight it. Don't get angry. Just be in that softness, softness, softness of the morning. Just for a little bit. I'm wondering if there's anyone who had something in particular that you were feeling in the morning that you would feel would be supportive for all of us to hold with you.
Hi, I have something to share. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
So what immediately came to my mind with that invitation was I've been mothering my son here, who's now 3, for the past, he was born in November 2020, so in the middle of the pandemic, and I've been parenting him alone. So I've very much been parenting him almost completely on my own a lot of the time. Obviously, there's been various forms of support, but most of the time it's just been the two of us. And that, the morning and the feeling where we're at, it's so, that's a very much a very present hologram that I've been living with, or not hologram, but distilled representation of that for me.
Yes, it is, because it is systemic. What you're bringing is a systemic issue. Sure, it affects you individually in a huge way. It's a systemic issue of the loss of communal holding of children.
Yeah, and seeing the child is the one who carries that, the pain of that, he's most wounded by that in so many ways, or the least culpable within it all, the one who's least able to defend themselves find a way to meet their own needs.
Thank you. Would anyone who resonates and can feel that pain with Rebecca just make some motion or heart or something so she knows she's gotten? Yeah. Thank you. Jen.
Well, I think of Gaza and I mourn that every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the mothers there. And the children.
Yeah.
And the people who are creating it, the disaster too.
Yeah. mourn that too. And I also mourn how much of the time, instead of mourning, there's shouting, and how transformative it feels to me in this moment to be with you in your mourning and seeing the softness of that. Yeah, thank you. Cindy?
It's so horrific what's happening in Gaza that even, I mean, I don't even know what the word is. Of course, there's mourning, but there's got to be another word for what any of us who are paying attention to the devastation are sensing. It's just beyond anything in my long life that I've ever experienced. And how do we get to the root? How do we get to the root of that mindset? That's what I'm working on.
Thank you. I just want to say that my hypothesis is that on some level, the creation of patriarchy came from situations that were beyond collective capacity for metabolizing through mourning. So there is something very significant about what you're raising, and thank you. I'm not going to answer your question right now because it's not possible within the scope of this. I'm just appreciating the question. Emma, back to you.
So there's another piece within capacity assessment that I think mourning in particular actually can open us to more and more, and that's seeing what openings there are available to us externally, which life does make available, openings for possibility. And if we're open to it, then we can see it. And the other piece is, what are our strengths? Where are there places where perhaps patriarchal conditioning didn't get us, and we have particular strength, capacities to see whatever it may be, and these give us energy, or are places where we can give energy, when there can be an easy outward movement. And this links directly into the purpose piece that Miki was speaking of before. You want to speak to that some more, Miki?
Yes. I want to give examples before. Yeah. For example, we here, if we remember, we're trying to decide to figure out how to work together within this imaginary experiment. One of the strengths that we have as us, and I know it, is that we have awareness, much more concentrated awareness than is generally available of the maternal gift economy and of the deeper layer of understanding patriarchy that aren't about gender. That's a huge strength. It gives us a big head start in compared to some other group of people that would come together that might need to take years before they learn what the root causes of things are. So that's an example of a strength that is unique to us. So I am wondering if anyone has any other sense of what strengths we have here within us. I'll point to another. I'll take you, Joan, in a moment. One of the strengths that we have, I'm going to embarrass someone now, is Letecia. Letecia has a particular capacity to pull people into a sense of togetherness just with how she speaks. It almost isn't about what she says. It's the energetic field that she creates when she speaks. Do you all recognize what I'm talking about, who would see it? Having someone like Letecia in our group, in our movement, means that when we go places to mobilize other people, there's an easy inflow through her presence and her capacity. She may not be aware of it to the extent that I'm saying it, but the rest of us are. And in the same way, as we get to know people, each of us, the unique gifts that we have, are strengths of the whole. So again, we're not actually starting to work together tomorrow, so we're not going to go through each and every one and what those strengths are. And I want to hear from Joan before we go into purpose. All this was a prelude to purpose. Yes, Joan.
Yeah, I'm reaching for something that I've never really tried to articulate before, but it has to do with experiencing the deep grief and horror that is going on. And I want to prelude whatever I say by recognizing that I am not under the bombs. None of us here, I'm assuming, are under the bombs, so that any moment we could be blown away. And that awareness in itself, that reality, it creates a whole other dimension to the grief that we're reaching toward. But what I've noticed is that, first of all, I'm choosing to educate myself every day to hear what is the most difficult to hear about what is happening in Gaza. And it's devastating but necessary, because otherwise to choose to be blind, to choose to stay within our own sense of just living our lives with the least amount of disruption. I see so many of my dear friends and people that I know and people I don't even really know making that choice. And to me, that is okay. That's a choice you're making, but the gap that you refer to is broadened, because if you don't really know as much as you can about what is the nature of that horror and what is actually happening with all of the children, all of the mothers, all of the loved ones, all of this, everyone who is being destroyed, whole families, again and again and again and again, something is not going to appear to you as reality. And what I'm noticing is among people who are staying aware of what is happening, there is a line of, it's like, okay, this can't be real because it's so extreme. You get beyond a certain place and saying that is real, and you can feel it viscerally, so that a change is happening. That's the change that breaks up, in my experience, breaks up the abstraction. Even if the abstraction of any kind of abstraction that leads you to war, to patriarchy, to dismissal of others, to turning anyone you want to demonize into animals, that sort of thing, in order to continue the war. So I think that you see all over the world, people standing out, people demonstrating and saying, no, not in our name. And here we're saying, no, not in our name, because we're paying for this, literally paying for this. And that there's an action rather than inaction that's being triggered. And I think that in that deep mourning, instead of only being a sense of powerlessness, can break through into a place of action that does lead to something. There's a new zeitgeist emerging that is large enough, that is getting larger and larger, that I can't see as entirely disastrous. I think that it's something that's necessary. We can so easily become willing to accept what is more and more and more and more horrific, and adapt to it so that we're not disrupted by it. And that's broken through. So that's all I have to say. It's sorry for being so inarticulate about it, but there is something happening, in my view, that is necessary in our world.
So that would fall in the category of what we call openings. Meaning it isn't a strength that you or I or anyone else here specifically bring. it's an opening. It's a horrific situation that is creating an opening for us. If we were going to do some work together, then we would probably look at this as an opening. And what does this opening mean? And other people might come together and this opening would not be relevant for them, but some other opening would be. So this is the process that, again, this is just a drop, the process of capacity assessment of, as we learn what our strengths and limitations are, what the openings are that we're facing, what the obstacles are that we're facing, we can develop a clear sense of purpose that comes from that degree of awareness of where is the gap and what is ours to do in relation to the gap. We haven't done a full version of that, and still we have come up with a draft purpose that could be something that would bring us together. I would like to go there so that we have a little bit of time to talk about that. Mary Claire, is that okay with you, or is it important what you wanted to say? I'm not trying to say it wasn't important, but that we can skip it for the moment. So I want to share with you the draft purpose that we came up with, to see if that is a purpose that you can imagine that if we were to come together might be something we could do. And I really want you to think about it seriously. Imagine that we are actually, each of us now going to dedicate some energy to working together. And part of what a shared purpose needs to do is not to be like one new mammoth project on top of all the things that we're already doing. It needs to be something that synergizes with the work we're already doing. So it's a wild guess, but it's also an educated guess. And now I will show it to you and see what you think about it. So the purpose, the draft purpose that we came up with, don't look at the values right now, it's not so important for the moment, is to establish a global interconnected web of maternal gift economy projects and applications. This is something that a group emerging from here would be uniquely equipped to do. That is where that idea came from, that we have the know-how, we are already engaged in this, and that's what gave rise to this purpose. To establish a global interconnected web of maternal gift economy projects and applications. To a large extent, that is already happening, but it's not interconnected. There is a global web. People know of each other, but there is no real connection of what is the significance of this one to this one and vice versa. So let's see what people's reactions are to this idea of the purpose. Imagine that we were to actually work together. Does the purpose speak to you? Do you see a different purpose? And we have some ideas within that of what that would look like. What are the actual things that we would do if we took on this purpose?
Can one of you put?
Yes, I'm doing it.
Oh, okay. Then we can have it right. That was, I think, what happened with the vision, that you wanted us to intersperse a few edits, but it was hard to go from the beauty of the vision to no longer having it on the screen. Yeah.
Here it is.
Yeah.
And I think while people think about this, maybe when I look at the clock, maybe it would be useful to also review the mission, the specific things within the purpose that would be the actual activities if we were actually going to do this thing. So let me show you that too. Jen, did you want to say something?
Yes, I did. I wanted to say that I think there are a lot of gift economy projects and a lot of people that have projects that are almost gift economy, but they don't have the maternal aspect. They don't recognize the maternal aspect that's already there, but they don't recognize it. So
Yes, so I am thinking that that would be one of the things I would like add this as one of the things for us to do is deepen understanding within the various projects of the significance of the maternal gift economy. Yeah?
yeah, of projects that's what I try to do is that
Yeah,
to
and
show,
that would be one of the things that the movement as a whole, if we were going to create a united movement, that's one of the things that we would need to do. So I just added it.
Great.
Yeah. Tracy. Tracy, you're muted.
I really want to thank you, Miki, and the women assembled for uplifting really what we've been talking about, which is really reframing what is happening and also giving us the space to really grieve, really taking time on the call because we sometimes move so fast. And I know that I am a great fault of that also. And when I move too quickly, then I get male aggression in me, and it's just awful. China can attest, and others who I try to work with. So I think the gift of this is the invitation that you give us to not just lay out and to have a web or a diagram or several diagrams, but the invitation to say, what is your place in this and what will you carry forth? Because we've been talking about that really with the Wednesday calls with Jen and Letecia and others, and talking about what is could we be more strategic in inviting each of us to take a piece of this forward, or what are we doing now? Where are we now, and how do we keep evolving? So I just really thank you, because I think that piece has to be, it's not just, of course not. You work so hard at this. It's not just laying out the diagram and the vision and the reframing and the articulation, which is just divinely inspired, very beautiful. It's really inviting people to be part of this and to see that they are part of it, that actually is happening, and that we need to actually put our focus and attention and invite others on board to actually join us in the world that will work better for others and for ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ursula? Just a second. I give priority to I give priority to Menaka when she has something to say. Go for it, Menaka.
I want to say I'm nervous because it's the first time I'm tracking something from the participants. And I feel so thrilled that so many people put P in front of their names. I was not imagining for this to happen. So Tracy, I want to check with you if you would be open to hear something that I sensed when I was hearing you speak. And it's totally fine if you say no.
No, absolutely I am. Thank you. I put the P because I want to make progress. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's P for progress.
I heard you say that, I don't recall your exact words, but something about appreciating or recognizing the women who are gathered here. And I completely trust that you had no intention of leaving anyone behind. I also see that there's one male being. So
thank you.
Just recognize the fullness of all the beings who are here.
Thank you so much. That's great feedback. And I will say that I thought that there was a group who had planned today, and I wasn't sure. I do apologize to you. Thank you so much.
Were you referring to the four of us who are holding the session?
That is what I meant initially, but I didn't mean to exclude anyone, because
okay.
Who do I know? You may have consulted with many other people, and men and women and trans and the world around us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you so much.
I fully trust you didn't have any intention to exclude, and I can so easily see missing. But the thing is, because I wanted to see who's put P in front of their names. I actually scrolled, otherwise even I would have so easily missed that. Thank you.
Perfect feedback. I receive it with all intention. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to call attention to the immensity of a tiny moment like this, in which a woman from the global south is challenging a woman from the global north in such a gentle and loving way. And just seeing your exchange is really heartening to me. Thank you both. All right, Ursula.
Yes, sorry, I can't read it all very well, but when Jen was including the maternal gift economy and stressing the fact that this is not very well known all around, I also feel, well, from my own experience around Berlin, working with a lot of young women, is there is very little knowledge about the analysis of patriarchal structures. It's very hard for, they always use the word patriarchy and they always scream down with patriarchy and all this stuff, but they don't really have a very clear understanding what it is in terms of structured, knowing structured patriarchal structures, that they can use it to kind of check themselves and their own, or it's really, it's a point where I have to go into long explanations, which is always disrupting the course of the conversations. And I wish for one in this kind of program, in the mission to say, well, we really, I really would like, to emphasize education on that. Okay.
Yeah, I added this. I just added it alongside the maternal gift economy.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you. Mama D.
Yeah, I find this very exciting. I put a workshop that I do in the chat called Decolonizing the Heart, because in the work I've done as an Indigenous woman, there's a lot of work around reconciliation and that happening in our country. But one of the things that gets in the way is people that haven't done their own work. So I do a workshop, and I'll tell you what, it's a 2-day workshop and people are loving it. I actually came up with the definition for decolonization, and that's being guided and critically examining the historical, social, economic, and political patterns and systems of power that have been formative in developing one's own and one's ancestors' worldview, and working to dismantle and transform one's way of seeing and being in the world. And I find that, having done this work, it's myself and done a bunch of workshops, what's happening is people are actually getting hands-on skills. So when they have those difficult conversations, what they have is this system and all these little, there's a little knapsack that we give them that is not, it's not the knapsack privilege, it's the knapsack of understanding. And what it is it gives people, I give people a toolkit. And it allows them to just real practical things, like somebody says something triggering or something, you just breathe for 10 seconds and figure out, but it's really practical. We work on it for 3 days and it's very, very useful. I'm about to license it to a huge HR company, because as an Indigenous woman who is and head of that, and she just looked around and she said, everybody talks about telling these very sad stories, but where do we move from there? Where do we move from? So you've done a Kairos blanket exercise, and you what do you do now? And so I find it very useful to work with groups. I have architects doing it. I have construction workers doing it, and it is really, it changes people. I've had so many people say, the big one they notice is they went to the family dinner that's always tense, and they tried the toolbox and they used some of the tools, and it's a completely different relationship people are having with themselves at these family dinners and things. So that's a start, because we're not going to reconcile with each other until we reconcile with our own selves, because our wounds get in the way so much. I could talk for hours and hours. One of the things I do is 2 privilege walks. I ask them, we do family trees. I ask them to pick a favorite ancestor, and follow and research and that, and then they share with each other, and then people fill in. Well, you were in Wales, and your dad was miserable, and he always wanted to be an artist. What happened? Well, he had to start working at 8 because his father died in a mine, and so he's a bitter man. So they have that story now, and they go back and they talk in that, and you're getting this father to open up and talk, and he's okay, be an artist, you know? And it's like, so I just want to say that because I live the maternal economy as a woman, and I get that, and are so that with this other
Mama
one.
D, your voice is breaking out. It's very hard to hear you. Is that just me or everyone? Yeah.
Oh, it is?
Yeah. But I do want to tell you one thing. Can you hear me? Are you able to hear me? I want to give you a huge appreciation because, and I'm going to try to follow up and figure out a way to connect with you, because the way that you described decolonizing the heart, I don't hear in that any division, like some people have to do it and other people don't. This group of people has to do it, this other group of people does it differently. It has a way of gently recognizing that it's work that everyone needs to do wherever they are in the power map of the world. And I really salute you for that. I just wanted to offer this appreciation. It's very deep.
Thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'll end with this thing. I base it on work I did from the Harvard Business School, which is, the businesses can do it. Why can't the population? Is James Urey, I can't think of his first name now, Bill Urey. He says this is the last thing I'm going to say around this, is all conflict arises from the failure to have needs met. And I put that on a medicine wheel, and I talk about balance instead of equality, because you're emotional, spiritual, intellectual, and physical. When something is hurting, we compensate. And so being aware of that, and what is it you're needing there, what is it you're not getting, and it's incredibly useful. And I give people these little things, and they can go and they can actually draw pictures and things about what's bugging them and that. So I just wanted to share that. I bring about 10 things together, including the British School of Psychoanalysis.
Thank you very much.
Could we get the link again of the workshop, if that's okay? Is it in there?
It's in the chat.
There. It just was there. Okay, thank you so much. I'm sorry.
All right. So
decolonizingtheheart.org.
Yeah. So this is the deal. Here we are. You like the purpose? It's the reason for us to actually think of moving this from imaginary to microscopically more real than imagination. Who's in? If some people are in, I'm wondering if there is anything on the material plane, any concrete agreement that we could make. I had a thought earlier when Tracy spoke, I had a thought that maybe like once a month, the Wednesday conversations could be focusing in a more pragmatic way on any steps that we can take in the direction that we started painting today. That's an example of a possibility. I'm not saying that needs to happen, but I am just wondering if there are any practical, concrete things that anybody could imagine us doing. because ideas that don't get anchored disappear like the kite. Letecia?
Yes. I, in listening to this whole piece, everything that you've done from start to finish, I could see there being a longer, fuller process that we do as a supporting this at another time, maybe quarterly, that we could, so that the group who are here, this cohort, would be able to deepen in the commitments that are made in this room today.
I like it. So maybe another possibility on the material plane can be that, you know, there are 26 of these a year, something like this, that maybe 4 of them are dedicated to continuing with some process like this. Not with people needing to commit to being in all of them, but that there is some energy that carries from time to time. Yeah.
Yes, I was thinking alternative Saturdays from our salon, so that there could be you know, an opportunity who wanted to deepen to be able to join once a quarter and have a conversation, and maybe other things would arise from that, but just so that we could revisit together.
Yeah, I'm also curious, my friends that came here, if you have thoughts also. And Mary Claire.
I'm so sorry that for some reason, I can't find the raise hand thing on my screen. It disappeared. I love this idea of allocating a time. I'm not entirely sure that I would want to have it be on alternate Saturdays, only because if we include it in the cycle, it really shows that we are embodying the establishment of the network. I'm totally open to it being any which way, but what is happening here is something that I would, looking at the words at the beginning, establishing and maintaining a network. I have just one thought on that, going back to Emma's invitation to us at the beginning of imagining ourselves as seeds, as acorns, going along with that body of metaphor. I think of ourselves as the mycelium mat. And
I have to stop you, because those of us who are most actively experimenting with the idea that in the next few years we will create a physical community, we call ourselves the mycelium experiment.
Well, there you go. So what if either adding or massaging the establishing and maintaining, I think about how Jen always says, these gifts are invisible and they're everywhere. It's ubiquitous. We know that the foundation, we don't need to establish it so much as observe, appreciate, nurture, embody, whatever. Because we are that mycelium mat. I love that you're calling yourselves that. And so we're making it explicate from the implicate order. Just a thought of that. Hence my thought of having this be a part of the cycle of these beautiful salons.
Got it. So it's rather than establish, it would be more to uncover and maintain.
Yeah, to reveal or
reveal. I like that. Reveal and maintain. Let me just change it, because if I don't do it.
How about instead of maintain, nurture?
Oh, it just says to establish. So let's say reveal and nurture.
Okay. And embody.
I don't know how you embody a global interconnected web. I think
figure it out.
Okay, I think I'm just doing reveal and nurture. And then the embody is in the values. Yeah. Jen.
I think as we're just talking about revealing, we are already maternal gift economy people. Every human being is already that. And we have an overlay of patriarchy and capitalism, exchange, and so on that is not letting us see ourselves, much less each other, and much less solve the problems that this overlay is creating. And so it's a question for me of finding a different mindset and promoting the different mindset, the different interpretation of the world that will allow us to behave in gifting ways and create these kinds of communities with more people. And also, I think that as we go along and people discover the gift within themselves, new ways of forming communities may occur.
Yeah, thank you. I added this as a sub point to what we talked about before.
Okay, great.
Yeah. What else is living in the room?
I had an idea, but I don't know how possible it is to make it happen. Depends what capacity there is in the room. It was about having the VM go out to the group that put up their hands even once between the periods when we meet, for people to actually input stuff.
I think it can go out to everyone who registered.
Okay.
Everyone who registered, we can give people comment access. So
I'm just thinking that could then work on in the next session. So there's material there already, and people are engaging.
Yeah. Yeah, so it looks like there will be a next session, and the question is whether it will be within the series of salons or it will be on an alternate Saturday. And I think that will be up to Letecia and Jen to decide, because I can see why some people would want it this way and some people would want it that way. And people can give them input. But one way or another, it will happen more or less within 3 months is the idea that I heard. And in between, we can share it with people, the structure that we have created, so people can comment on it. That's great. Thank you. Vanda?
Yeah, I can't see if anyone else is raising hands, so my power in terms of power and privilege. Anyway, there is something coming to me, which is, I think, related to the strength of NGL being part of this, and that is, some people could join NGL Friends, or at least there is like a course on convergent facilitation, which is a very efficient way of collaborating. So I could imagine that some of the people here actually attend the training in convergent facilitation, because we don't have a lot of resources for collaborating, actually. So
I also want to say, when people hear the word course, they think the word payment. And I want to say that there isn't anything that we do that is done in any way other than the gift economy. Nothing is charged. People are invited to contribute because we need to sustain ourselves, but there's no exchange. There's only cycles of gifting. I just wanted to say that it felt important.
I'm not selling anything.
Yeah, I think that we can probably, where is Diane? Are you there? I think we have everybody's email address who registered. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Yeah, so we can send resources. There are a few resources that we can send to people, including the document that we started working on. Yeah. What else is living in people as we are coming to a close? Yeah, China. You're muted. You're muted. Let me help you unmute. Okay, try now.
Okay, I can't see myself, so I don't know where I am in the squares here. I just have been so grateful. I think maybe starting with Jen, but to all of you really, for talking about the family and the tremendous impact. And I love what I was hearing about the conversations at dinner, including the family and getting people, construction workers and architects, and all these people to talk about what might be considered soft subjects and discover how actually critical and important they really are. So I applaud that. And I just wanted to let you all know that we've completed our documentary, and it's really, there's so much emphasis here on the maternal, but I feel like Resurrecting Love, which is about a Black cemetery in East Texas that also includes some Native American burials, that death is sort of the common experience that can bring us all together in respect and honoring of one another. It's not as threatening to many people. And I'm not saying, so anyway, we've completed our film. We've completed a lot of work. We're hoping to find work with others and collaborate on curriculum. And this is where maybe some of you, it might be an area where there could be some kind of collaboration. So just know that, and that I'm really heartened, because honoring the dead is something that has fought. I mean, look at Navalny's mother right now, who is completely caught and represents so many mothers in Gaza and all that's happening. That's so heartbreaking in the Ukraine. So I just applaud everyone bringing out this very nuanced and thoughtful, holding up and valuing, Miki, your talk was just stunning, of the feminine and the mother.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Dylan? You're muted.
Thank you. I was like, what happened to my little machine that was being temperamental again? So thank you all for the contributions, both in the design of this and the interactions. They've been rich and promising. And when you first started talking, I was like, oh, so if we knew other people that were doing it, we could share resources of all types with each other. That's one thing that I thought would be part of the purpose or mission. And maybe I didn't read it, but that was important to me. And then the second thing I thought was that I think Jen said, we all are this. We're just buried or trained or, compromised by the systems within which we live and breathe. And that, so then we could have a list of every single person on the planet as being in the maternal gift economy way, even though they don't know it yet. And I was like, well, that's a pretty dang big list. And then I said, well, then, would we have individuals that are doing things individually? Would we want organizations to be listed? And then what I thought in relation to that was what Emma said about having the VM be a place of sharing material.
Just you're not, Emma did it and you're doing it. VM is the acronym for the Vision Mobilization Framework that we shared with you.
The Vision Mobilization Framework. And speaking of that particular document, I just recently learned from somebody, I think her name was Yaren, and she said that the vision mobilization is a liberatory tool for liberation, and liberatory tools need to be done in community with each other together. So that's very exciting, just that we have this community that wants to play in it. So that's it. Thanks.
Annie?
When Tracy was talking, I was struck by her emphasis on the maternal piece. And I just wanted to highlight, Jen made such, I think, an important comment that kind of blew my mind open, that people are doing all these projects that are gift economy projects, but they are missing the maternal aspect. I'm extremely curious what Jen meant by that. And I would hope that when we have our next meeting, that that would be front and center to begin to understand that, what Jen meant.
Thank you. I am wondering, Jen, Letecia, if you want any time at the end to close.
Yes, I need about 5 minutes.
Thank you. And Jen, is there anything you want to say in closure? Because I really want to honor, I don't know how else to say it, the generous risk that you took of giving us this space without really knowing exactly what we were going to do with it.
Well, thank you. I'm so glad that you've done this and you've taken the space. I think there are many ways of coming to the gift economy, and you have a wonderful way of doing it. And I think that there probably out there are people who are trying to do the gift economy without naming it that. And also many people who are motivated by maternal motivations, but don't know how to value what they're doing, and don't have anybody else that values it. And so the communities are all separated, but they are there, and people are really very capable and imaginative, and as things get worse, as you were saying in the beginning, more and more people want to change. And so we are in a moment in which this can be very important. So I'm all for this community and expanding it. And if there are other communities, to expand them. And I think that we need to it's a question, really, for me anyway, it's a question of mindset, of being able to change the mental mechanisms that we have that are foisted on us by patriarchy and by the exchange economy, and liberate ourselves from that, so that we can access our maternal humanity, all of us, men and women, everyone.
Tracy, final words.
Miki, this is just beautiful. So I really want to thank all of you. And of course, Jen is the seed mother of, of everything. And Letecia, as you've given her recognition, and each of your partners. This is the piece I want to share just as my own vision. And that is that our love of the small circle and our being able to co-create and share with other circles is just so powerful, because it's so personally healing for all of us. And I thank you for the workshops and all the things that people are doing that remind us to decolonize and to stay in our hearts. There's this one other piece though, and that is, there are so many good things going on that are really maternally, that fit the maternal gift economy's definition. And that even Jen asked me once to be on a panel about all the Women's Foundation work I'd been doing, and I'd never really thought of it as part of the maternal gift economy. This is about 20 years ago. And that's what I think part of what Jen is talking about, the wake up of course, what you're doing is part of the maternal gift economy, but my own denial or inability to see it was broken through at that moment. So I invite us all to recognize that we also need to take up the issue, not just of working well together in a small group, but of leading. And I invite us to think, to ask also, what am I uniquely called to do next to lead in this area and to collaborate? Thank you.
Thank you. Letecia, I think it's back to you.
Miki, let me ask you and each of your panelists if there are last words, because we can go a little bit over, but I want to actually close it out with your words as we opened. So just briefly, and then I'll just close this out by telling us, some administrative things. So please, whichever order you choose, we'd like to hear last words from you. Vanda, Miki, Emma, and Menaka.
I don't have anything to add. I feel very happy and complete.
I just want to celebrate a sense of, that it actually was possible to get a taste of the meaning and significance of these for uniting movements. And I wasn't sure at all that it would work. So I just want to celebrate that from what I could perceive, it landed what it can do. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Oops.
I'd like to appreciate everyone. I had an experience of everyone receiving the power and privilege piece as a gift. I don't know if it was new for you or not, and still I want to appreciate that. Thank you.
And I'm celebrating the bit of energy that I'm feeling from how this was taken up in the room. I think I wasn't expecting it necessarily what would happen here, and I'm appreciating and celebrating that happened. Yeah.
Well, I just want to thank you all, those of you who have joined us in this room, but really particularly Jen, Miki, Vanda, Emma, and Menaka, for being with us and for allowing us to experience something different and new in this framework. It will give the opportunity for others to reach out to each of you and to each other to be able to explore this more deeply. And of course, we will follow up with another in the future. This recording is going to be up on our website. I'll say it again, maternalgifteconomymovement.org. We welcome any of your questions. You can send them to us at maternalgifteconomy@gmail.com. In 2 weeks, we have a salon on September. I'm fast forwarding way ahead. Saturday, March the 9th. We're really excited to have Heidi Gutner-Abendroth and Angela Dolmich returning. Jen, I wonder if you could give us just a little clip of what she's organizing it so she has an idea of what we'll be talking about on that day. So Jen?
Well, we talked about it being on the future of feminism and the future of matriarchal feminism in particular. So as you all know, Heidi is the mother of modern matriarchal studies, and Angela Dolmich has created a women's eco-village on matriarchal and gift economy principles that has been functioning now for 20 years, and it's in Colombia. So the two of them are going to talk about what the future of the movement is, basically. So that's what it is going to be. It's on March the 9th, the day after March the 8th, which is International Women's Day.
Yes. So we're excited about that, and we look forward to it. And we look forward to you joining us. So until then, I hope that you take into your heart this notion of uniting the movements, and that we facilitate and help others to see the unseen presence of the maternal gift economy in very compassionate and gentle ways, that we open up our hearts to each other, and that we can return to this place that we shared here together in the gap when we get frustrated, where the sadness and the grief that we know we were held with each other in that moment, because we all have big works and small works to do in the world, but we need to have a place where we can find that interconnected sense of our hearts. And even though we don't see each other, we know what it feels like to be in that space together. So please, as an invitation in the future, bring yourself back to that place, because we're holding each other. So until we see you again, stay safe, everyone. Be well and be kind to one another. Thank you so much for joining us. Take really good care. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.